Automated Ark is a cross-platform mod that helps automate a lot of the boring inventory and resource management around your base, so you have more time for the exciting stuff like exploring and taming. There are nearly 40 pieces to explore and muck around with. They unlock regularly, with many of the pieces offering an alternative to the vanilla structure and becoming available at the same level. Nearly all of the pieces with an inventory have greatly increased space for more storage, and a few are even refrigerated to give you that extra extended spoil time. There are a heap of options that can be configured even by console players thanks to the handy interface. The workbench is where you make all of the automated Ark structures. It looks a bit flash, but that's really all it does. The control console is the guts of the mod. It's where all the magic happens. It's absolutely required for almost all of the pulling that happens within the system, and it also has a few other features and options. You'll need to play around with those to see which ones work for you. The smithy is actually really cool. Not only do you make all the stuff that you normally make in your smithy, but you can also make all the stuff that you normally have to craft in your inventory. No more standing still or even Baywatch running while you're doing your crafting. The AA Chem Bench, not only does it have more storage, but it's also refrigerated, so you can set and forget your recipes, your crafting, and not have to worry about things going off. The Mortar and Pestle, it's not refrigerated like the Chem Bench, and doesn't have quite as much space, but it's still got more than its vanilla counterpart. Definitely worth it. The grinder gives you obviously more space, but you can also grind ingots back to metal for no loss. Plus, you've got the added animation, which is always a nice touch. The Indie Forge is great. You don't have to worry about unloading your Anki because it automatically pulls metal from dinos in range. It also balances stuff to other forges and pushes any gasoline to generators in range. The Pyro Forge obviously has less space than the Indie Forge, but it still has the balance function and it burns charcoal super fast. Make sure you put spark powder in if you're forging metal. Now the Fabricator is great. Obviously it's smaller, which means if you've got a base that's a little bit short on space, you should be able to fit that one in. Plus, it also can craft your tech stuff. The vacuum, well, it's exactly what it sounds like. Anything that you drop on the floor, it vacuums up. The OCD vaults. This is where you're going to store most of your resources and items. It does take a little bit of fiddling to get things set up the way that you want, but it's well worth taking the time to do that. There's 3 types. There's the metal, the marble, and the driftwood. All 3 of them have slightly different storage space, but they're all stackable, which is great. The polymer transmuter. It does what it says it does. It's very simply converts your poly between its different forms. It has an extended spoil timer, which means no more wasted organic polymer. The feeding trough is refrigerated. It does need power, but it also chains and balances with other feeding troughs in the area. The trash can does exactly what you think it does. Deletes all the stuff like implants and recipes, etc. The building helper, it's a really handy tool. It's got multiple modes that you can cycle between to do things like running around picking up multiple structures very, very quickly, amongst other things. The engram pod is where you can save your current engrams for relearning later. It's great for the players who use mind wipes regularly, especially when it comes to crafting and the bonuses that you get from it. The medical station, that's a handy little tool. You can put your dinos on top of the platform, healing brews inside, and it will heal your dinos about 5% per pulse. The repair station is very handy indeed. You can dump all of your gear inside that needs fixing, and with the push of a button, fix it, assuming that you've got all of the required resources close by. It will also slowly repair your base, using any resources that you have on hand. The garden station is going to make a lot of people very happy. You can craft seeds to grow the organic items from within the game. Rare mushrooms, rare flowers, tree sap, a few others that aren't available until we get further down the line of expansions, but it's an easy way to get those resources without having to go out and farm them. The grill is great. More space to throw more things in, as well as being refrigerated, and that's fantastic. That means you can load it up, go and do some other things and come back without having worried about all your stuff spoiling. The ice crate, well, as far as I can tell, it's basically just a small fridge. The compost bin collects poop off the ground and grabs thatch from the storage to make fertiliser, or it distributes it to any dung beetles in range to do the same thing. It has a much bigger range compared to dung beetles, and it also then pushes any fertiliser out to the fertiliser manager. The main difference with the Indie Cooker over its vanilla counterpart is that it has more slots and it's also refrigerated to help stop that spoiling while you set and forget. The Plant Commander is a centre for adjusting the settings on all Plant X turrets within range, and it glows at night too, that's a nice touch. The dehydrator can be used as either a traditional preserving bin with the oil and spark powder, or alternatively with electricity. The egg crate picks up eggs off the ground, but it will also ignore fertilised eggs if they're close to one of the AA air conditioners. The fertiliser manager collects fertiliser, funny enough, from compost bins and distributes it to any crop plots in range. The refrigerator has a much longer spoil timer than its normal version, as well as the extra storage space. It can also store things that you wouldn't be able to normally store in the vanilla option. The spoiling bin, well, it simply quickly spoils meat. The beehive is great for generating honey without the need for rare flowers. The dino leash, well, as far as I can tell, it seems to be the same as the normal version. The wood pile will distribute wood or spark powder or angler gel to any standing torches in the area. The generator is great. It's got a huge range, much bigger than the normal version. It's also quiet, and it pulls the gasoline from any forges that are making it. The Turret Genie remotely controls any turrets in range. It also refills them, provided that you've got the ammo in the inventory here. The Veggie Crate is actually just a small alternative OCD storage option. It can hold anything, which is good for smaller bases. The air conditioner, well, it simply just has a much bigger range than normal air conditioners. The anthill is a great way to passively generate cementing paste and chitin over time. You just put bug repellent inside and it will spawn ants every so often. It's a great way to set up a little passive cementing paste farm, as you can see here. Okay, pros. Once you've managed to work out the basics and have a handle on setting things up, it really does make a lot of the mundane resource and inventory management tasks around base so much quicker. You'll probably end up with a heap of the OCD vaults because of their size and being able to label them to make finding things a lot easier. There are also a few fun Easter egg type things. I won't spoil too many of the few that I've found. That would take away the fun from you finding them yourselves. If you have found any, make sure to put a comment down below. Cons. This is a pretty full-on mod and there are a heap of options. Unfortunately, there isn't a lot of instruction. It's a sort of suck it and see approach, although most of the pieces you can work out pretty easily. There are a couple of helpful vids from other creators that touch on a few of the basics, but even so, there's still a fair bit of experimenting with trial and error. Even with a steep learning curve, if you don't enjoy the grind and maintenance of a lot of the boring stuff around base, like the inventory management and moving resources around to your crafting benches, then the pull and sort functions of this mod will be something that will strongly appeal to you. Many pieces that are alternatives to their vanilla counterparts are smaller, which means more space around your base. If you're like me and you love to hoard stuff, then you'll love the added bonus of increased inventory space as well as the spoil timers. When it's all said and done, this is an extremely well put together mod that many Ark players will get a lot of benefit from. I'm going to give Automated Ark 4 stars.